Okay, I'm really excited to be introducing the next session, which is our Lightning Pitch Fest. So looking at some of those really exciting companies from this part of the world, specifically looking at AI technologies. I'm really pleased that this is hosted by Plug and Play, somebody that BT already partners with, and particular Kieran from Plug and Play. So over to you, Kieran.
Aaron, thank you very much for the kind introduction. So first of all, hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Kieran Borrett, and I'm representing Plug and Play, and we are going to be hosting the AI Pitch Fest that is about to kick off, which we're very excited about. The format for today, we have 4 brilliant startups who are going to be pitching that are all sort of use AI within their products. And they use AI in very different ways and with effect in very different industries. So it's a really great broad section of companies who are presenting. So what we're going to do is each company will have about 5 minutes to present. And then following the 5 minutes, we will begin with a sort of 2 to 3 minute Q&A. So please do ask questions via the chat functionality. Engagement's really great. And each of the startups also has a digital booth as well. So if you do want to get in touch with them, please do go through the event site booth there. So we have 4 startups. The AI startups are covering a whole range of things, including agri-tech, IoT and prevention, augmented reality, and knowledge management. So really great range of sort of implications and applications of AI. So before we jump into it, please allow me to just give a bit of an overview as to what we do and who we are at Plug and Play. For this, I will just very quickly share my slides. Okay, I hope you can see the slides. Someone please do shout if you can't see the slides. But really, who are we at Plug and Play? So Plug and Play, we always tell this story. It's a very interesting history, but Plug and Play, we date back to the 90s. We're a family office, so we're a family business. And back in the 90s, our CEO and founder, who was a gentleman named Saeed Amidi, he had some spare property on 165 University Avenue. So University Avenue is the main boulevard coming off Stanford University. Now, in the early 90s, of course, it was a very good time to be around this particular geography with all sorts of great technology companies spinning out of the university. So Saeed, our CEO, really had some spare space, and he ended up leasing this space to young companies who were coming out of Stanford University there. Now, the very first company that actually came out of Stanford University happened to be Google. So Google's first home after the university, Plug and Play incubated them. And then we did very similar things with PayPal, Dropbox, and Logitech. So this is the beginnings of Plug and Play. We ended up taking equity in many of these businesses. And this really leads us to the beginning of what Plug and Play is. We are an early stage venture capital company, and this is one of the core things that we do today. So really, what Plug and Play does can be defined in 3 clear categories. We are early stage investors, so we invest in seed, C+, Series A rounds. And we're a very active investor, so we invest in over 250 companies a year across a whole range of different industries. So, and geographies indeed. So probably about 70% US, 30% rest of the world, which is constantly growing. The second piece of what Plug and Play do is we run startup business development programs. So what we do is we have corporations that we work with. Corporations select the startups that they wish to enter a very structured business development program. And in return, the startups can work with some of the largest corporations in the world in a very structured manner. And the final piece of what we do is corporate innovation. So we partner with big organizations and we support them to innovate through pairing with the brightest, most innovative startups around the world. We're very firm believers in innovation through partnerships with young, up-and-coming, bright startups. So that's a brief overview of what we do here at Plug and Play. In terms of where we are, pretty broad geographical remit. HQ is in Silicon Valley, but really we've spread around the world. Within each of these offices, we support corporations and we make investments across a range of different industries. So probably about 33 offices around the world today. And of course, we work across a whole range of different industries. So we have 16 different industry verticals here that you can see on this slide. Of course, relevant to today's pitch, I mean, AI, artificial intelligence, is so relevant to each of these different industries. For instance, in sustainability, we're starting to see sort of startups using computer vision to identify waste in certain types of plastics and actually being used in the process of recycling. We're seeing AI being used in insurance, from the underwriting process all the way through to understanding damage and loss from certain extreme events. And of course, we're seeing AI, of course, being used in the healthcare and diagnostic space to get to grips with what types of diseases might someone be suffering from. So really, really interesting, and I'm excited to host a number of great pitches of startups that fall within a range of these different industry verticals. So that's a brief introduction from me, and that's Plug and Play. It's now pitch time, so we are going to dive straight into our pitches. We've got sort of about half an hour now. We're due to finish at about 15:15. So with that, I'm going to introduce our very first startup, who will have about 5 minutes to pitch. So I would like to introduce Circuit Builder to the stage.
I'm Angus Thomson, the founder of Circuit Builder, and it's a pleasure to be here today to talk about EdgeSense. Now, EdgeSense is a new hardware platform we're developing that aims to simplify the process of deploying Edge AI solutions across any industry. But before I talk about too much about what it is, I'd like to talk about some of the potential applications. I've picked 3 problems here, first being wildfires, which of course have a huge environmental and financial impact. Similarly, with pipeline failures, cost a huge amount of money every year. And again, the environmental impact is significant. And lastly, wind turbine maintenance. The cost of unscheduled maintenance of wind turbines can account for a very large proportion of the total operation and maintenance costs. So it's a significant challenge to solve. Now, 3 solutions here which share a common theme. First of all, with forest fires, we can use a network of sensors to detect the audio signature of forest fire and immediately alert the central location of that fact to be dealt with. Similarly, with pipelines, you can use a network of remote sensors to detect any differences in the vibration or audio signature, and again, alert a central location as soon as that happens. And lastly, predictive maintenance, a really interesting area, which I'm sure everyone here is very well aware of. Through constant monitoring of any particular environmental effect, for example, vibration, we can detect the early signs of fault before they become too serious. So it's a very powerful tool. Now, the EdgeSense hardware is designed to tackle these 3 and many, many more problems. The hardware itself is based around a really powerful microcontroller combined with a long-range low-power radio, a LoRa radio, and sensor technology that can be applied to really any application from forestry to manufacturing to insurance services. So it's a very, very versatile piece of hardware designed to run even complex edge AI algorithms. Now, a little bit about the market opportunity, which is, of course, huge. The edge AI software market is predicted to reach nearly $2 billion by 2025. And this is projected to grow around about 26% per year. So it's significant. There's a very interesting example of one company in this area called Edge Impulse. We are looking to license some of their technology. They've built a software platform to implement Edge AI algorithms. They recently raised over $5 million in seed funding. So there's clearly a lot of investment and interest in this area. And of course, these are facts related to the Edge AI software market. Software, of course, needs a hardware to run it, which is where the EdgeSense platform comes in. Now, briefly, a little bit about me. My background is across a variety of sectors, from oil and gas to defense to consumer electronics, and I have a background in machine learning as well. I'm supported by a number of very good advisors who have been instrumental in helping Circuit Builder be the success it currently is. Now, on the development plan itself, we are currently working on, we have hardware prototypes already. We're working on this, and our next goal is to get these deployed into the real world to prove some of the fundamental assumptions we've been making and to obtain some real world case studies to actually show this in the real world, actually gathering data, solving real problems. Then we'll be looking at implementing the platform itself. Now, this is a web-based platform that is designed to allow the end users to get real insights into the equipment that's being monitored, whether it is a pipeline or a wind turbine or anything in between. So to give real power to show the insights, the data gathered by this hardware to the end customer. And lastly is a really exciting development in the data itself. Now, we will be deploying sensors across a huge number of industries all over the world. these will be gathering very, very valuable real-world sensor data. Now, there's significant value in that data. Even the best machine learning algorithm relies upon good quality data to train it. Now, this is what we will be gathering as part of the development plan. I liken it to sort of Getty Images approach, where they offer high quality photos to end users. We will be gathering, curating data and offering that in an anonymized way to end users to train their own machine learning algorithms. So there's a huge amount of value in that huge amount of data we will be gathering. So in summary, EdgeSense itself is a hardware tool. It's a single tool. It's sort of like a Swiss Army knife to implement edge AI solutions with infinite applications. What we're looking for is seed funding to help accelerate the development of what we already have and to get it out into the real world, gathering real world data, and to help us enable the growth of the company from where we are now. Thank you very much. I'm Angus Thomson.
Okay, Angus, thank you so much for that presentation. Really, really interesting.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we have a few minutes now for Q&A. So those listening, please do submit your Q&As and we can get to them through the Q&A box. But maybe a quick question from me first, Angus, which is, I mean, how do you compete against other sort of companies operating within this hardware space when it comes to IoT?
Yeah, so it's interesting. There are, of course, a number of companies using this technology across a wide range of sort of sectors. There's some interesting examples from detecting poaching, animal poaching, to monitoring the state of power distribution. However, a lot of these existing companies are focusing on one particular application, which is great. You know, they're solving a particular problem. Where we're sort of approaching this is to use an analogy, you know, instead of designing a specific tool to take apart a television or one other tool to take apart a radio, instead we're designing a screwdriver to sort of be a very generic general purpose tool to do both of those things and many, many more. So a lot of the existing companies in the space are focusing on one area. What we're instead doing is you know, focusing on the technology. And by making it sort of generic enough, we can apply it to any of these existing, you know, problems and many, many more. So we're approaching in a slightly different way to some of the existing companies.
I liked in your presentation how you sort of started with the, you know, a couple of the use cases. It is, given that it's quite broad, how do you plan on sort of, well, I mean, what's your go-to-market strategy basically? Who are you going to target to make the most impact and ultimately?
Yeah, so really the question, obviously it's both a blessing and a curse in a way, because we've got this great generic tool. It's like, you know, who do you sell a screwdriver to continue the analogy? Because anyone from a plumber to an electrician to one, you know, building a table in their basement might need this. So what we're looking to do is focus on a few verticals, some of them being things like agri-tech is an interesting one, and renewable energy. So I'm in contact with a Caputo. We're looking at renewable energy sector. One really good use case, as I mentioned in the presentation, is monitoring of wind turbine blades. So what we're looking to do is initially focus on particular verticals, really, you know, nail that problem and actually, you know, build the hardware so it's perfect for that. And then we can, you know, these will all be based, all these verticals are based on a single foundation of this hardware. So whilst we are, you know, making a name for ourselves in these particular verticals, we can, you know, we continue to prove the hardware, the actual sort of foundation of the company, and then we can, you know, approach different verticals as and when we see fit. So we'll sort of approach the easier ones first, the ones sort of local to East Anglia regions where we are, and then sort of open it out to others. So yeah, we are focusing initially on just some verticals, for example, renewable energy.
And in the pitch as well, you showed us, you had in your roadmap this web-based analytics program. So are you guys, instead of just collecting the data, I mean, just as well as the great job collecting the data, are you going to be sort of analyzing that data to create useful insights as well? Is that part of the roadmap?
To an extent, yes. One thing I'm very keen to not do is reinvent the wheel. There's some really interesting companies doing a lot of good work in this space, and I don't want to start, reinventing what other people have done very well. The Edge Impulse platform I mentioned a couple of times is interesting because they take care of some of the very clever machine learning side of things. So we will be licensing their technology. So the platform is more a sort of general purpose visualization platform rather than having the AI, clever AI stuff is more on the low powered hardware than the web platform. So the web platform is more of a sort of a useful tool to display the results rather than a clever AI tool itself.
Very good. I have one more question, which is always a sensitive one, which is, Again, in the presentation, you mentioned sort of the collection of data. Whose data is this? Is it your client's data, or do you expect to still own the data given it's your device?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm going to be completely bluntly honest. This is to be decided. We're at the very early stages. We're focusing on the hardware and the methods to collect that data. This is something. I mean, obviously, with things like GDPR, and everyone has a very, rightly so, is very aware of who owns data and what is being done with it. So yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer at this stage. My sort of response here is that GDPR has sort of focused on ways to identify particular people, for example. This can be easily anonymized. So I can't directly answer a question, sadly. I'd love to be able to. Hopefully in a year's time when we have data, it will be collected from our end users' sort of equipment, whether it's a wind turbine or anything really. But yeah, as to exactly how that's anonymized, exactly how that's used, it is still to be determined, but it's something I'm very well aware of and is one of the focuses we'll be looking at very soon.
Good stuff. Okay, I think we're pretty much out of time. Please do, anyone with questions, do use the Q&A function, and do visit Angus and Circuit Builder in the events center. Please do hit him a note. A really interesting area. I think the world of prevention and preventing things happening through using these types of tools is a huge opportunity. Thanks, Angus. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to our next company who is going to pitch. That company is Miniature.
Hi, my name is Andrea Caputo, and I am the head of product at Miniature. Here at Miniature, we build intuitive tools for complex problems to help companies work more efficiently. Currently, we are developing Minify.ai, a tool that turns any knowledge base into the smartest person in the room. With our solution, we aim to address the knowledge management system market, a global market valued more than $360 billion with a 5-year forecast of over $1 trillion. Every day, big and small organizations face similar organizational questions. What is happening? Why something is happening? And what is next? What I can do next? They rely on their knowledge base, composed by data, document, and human expertise, to get an actionable intelligence to support their business decisions. Unfortunately, currently, both corporations and SMEs have problems to find the best actionable intelligence for 3 main reasons: the volume of the data produced, integration of different formats and sources, and the quality of the information. Those 3 factors are the main causes that undermine company efficiencies. In the US, on average, an organization loses $13.3 million per year. This is a problem that is becoming more and more relevant in the recent years due to the increase of digital documents, considering that 90% of the digital data have been created in the last 3 years only. Minify.ai is our solution, an AI-powered decision support system that helps users to take informed decisions through a better access to information. Minify.ai combines a natural language processing search with a seamless sources integration and a secure single source of truth to turn any knowledge base into the smartest person in the room. Our team has a mix of technical and business background. Victor is our visionary CEO that wants to make the world a better place one tool at a time. He has more than 20 years of developing experience and worked on projects for IBM Watson and Bayer. I am the head of product, and I want to solve user frustration and pains. In my career, I managed products generating more than £160 million in revenues, mainly in innovation. And Robert is the scientist building the underneath engine that is supporting our product. He is the Royal Commission Award winner and hold 2 patents. The 3 of us combined have more than 20 years of startup experience. We are in the process to expand our team, selecting an advisory board, and then we plan to hire a commercial director in the next quarter and a customer service director by the end of the year. We have been the recipient of a Smart Innovate UK grant that helped us to develop the first version of the product, the first MVP. Currently, we have 2 ongoing collaborations, one with the University of Cambridge and the second one with the International Organization of Migration, an organization part of the United Nations. We are going to use this version of the product to enter in the knowledge management system market for corporations and SMEs. a market that is forecasting to grow globally with a compounded annual growth rate of 16.8% in the next years to reach a $1.1 trillion valuation by 2027. We estimate that our addressable market will be $16.7 billion, and our goal is to get a 3% market share in the next 5 years, for a total of around $500 million. We are building a great car with an AI-powered engine, but we need the fuel to make this car go faster. That's why we are looking for a £600,000 investment to be able to accelerate our growth this year, increasing our allocation in staff, marketing, and business development, to enter in the second phase of the business, where we want to consolidate our collaboration with the United Nations and expanding in the SMEs market. We have already started conversation with companies in construction and engineering and expect to be able to generate £400,000 in revenues by 2022. Then the goal is to be able to establish our presence in the US market to enter in the phase 3 of our roadmap. Thank you very much for your attention. And remember now, with Minify.ai, the smarter person in the room can be your phone. If you want more information or organize a demo, please send me an email at andrea@miniature.dev. Thank you.
Okay, Andrea, thank you so much for that presentation. Time for some Q&A. Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Thanks for the presentation. Very, very interesting. And certainly, I mean, it's a booming space, very, very interesting space. So a couple of questions from me. I mean, knowledge management systems, it's a fairly broad area. It could cover things like processes, language, even internal connections within a business. It'd be great to hear how Miniature, I mean, where is Miniature playing within this knowledge base, within this knowledge sort of management process?
Thank you very much for the question. Victor, the CEO, is here as well. Do you want to take that, Victor, or should I?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I can handle that. Yeah.
Victor, maybe if you could just show your face on, if you can, the video on.
Sure, yeah. Yep, I'm here too. Yeah, so obviously the, knowledge management space is huge because, of course, it covers all the things we know. And I sort of liked Angus's previous response, if I can poach that, which is sort of, we'd like to build a screwdriver. And like Angus, I think the good approach is to, figure out what kind of specialized screwdriver we can build first. And then when we get really good at building screwdrivers, we can expand. So I think what we bring in particular, which might be different since there are a lot of different players, is that we're really focused on usability. For us, usability is sort of king. And there's a drive, there's a rush to build big knowledge graphs and to handle the complexity. But often what gets lost is, what do you do when you see that knowledge graph? How do you manage that data? So I think our particular niche, our particular focus is not just sort of the verticals in the industries, but also in making all of that knowledge usable to the person sitting at the keyboard.
And maybe do you guys have like a few case studies in terms of the best applications of Miniature? I think that would be really useful for the audience.
Yeah, sure. So one of the projects we're working on now is actually with the United Nations. So as it turns out, they came to me, they had about 30,000 documents. And these are sort of material for shelter and disaster response. And they needed a way to sort of vet these documents, to go through these documents. When there was a disaster, they needed a way to sort of access the most relevant data, and they had no idea how to do it. And so we workshopped it a little bit, and our current version of the software was born out of this problem. What do you do if you have this huge, expansive knowledge base that covers literally every country on the planet? How do you get out the most sort of salient information, and how do you do it quickly? So that's one of the projects we're working on with them.
And when you're working with data, how do you go about classifying it and tagging it to ensure the accuracy is there? Like, have you got an idea on how much accuracy you guys can get?
Yeah, so what we do is we actually sort of have a two-part process. So we do a lot of the meta tagging automatically on input, but we also created what we think is hopefully a good feedback loop between the individual users and the metadata itself. So we do have some trust metrics and some trust ranks for the experts in the system. So when experts engage with the information, they're also updating the system's knowledge of, is this sort of the right way to go about tagging? So they actually teach the system as they're using the system. So that's one of the ways we sort of improve our data extraction over time.
I'll ask one more question. We at Plug and Play, we really like this space. We've actually made a number of investments quite recently. One of the reasons we like it is because it's applicable to just loads of industries, which is great for us. How are you tackling that? Like, who are you going after in terms of trying to win business here?
Yeah, so initially our partners are, again, with the United Nations and with Cambridge University. I actually have experience with Plug and Play in the healthcare sector, and most of my research and work has been on AI and medicine. So healthcare is also something we're really excited about, especially since there's so much data. And our work with Cambridge was on COVID-19 data. So there's just so much of it. So I think those are good places to start. And then, reaching out to SMEs, starting with small players that, don't appeal to sort of the big knowledge-based software out there, but still have need to sort of process their documents and data. And so slowly make it in through the smaller companies.
Very good. Conscious of time, so we will have to move on. But I mean, Victor, Andrea, many thanks. Thanks for a great video. Anyone want to, please do reach out to the guys.
Thank you.
Using the event center, they have a booth. Their emails are there. We really want to get engagement through these types of events. So please do reach out, guys. Thank you so much. Next,
thank you.
I would like to welcome Antobot to the stage.
Hello, everyone. This is Howard. I'm with my colleague Mark. We are Antobot, an agricultural robotics technology startup, providing affordable robotics for sustainable agriculture.
Through extensive conversations with farmers, we are seeing an industry that is under significant pressures. From a baseline of razor-thin profit margins, recent and fast-moving societal challenges are placing farms under even further stress. Recent events such as COVID and Brexit have created an even larger labour shortage, resulting in unharvested crops. Increasing environmental concerns and factors such as increased demand for organic foods are fundamentally changing the way the farms need to do business. There's growing evidence that the solution to these challenges are digital, precise, autonomous robots using artificial intelligence. And we are seeing a clear demand from the sector for this type of product. However, we're also hearing from the farmers that there are concerns around these type of technologies potentially being too expensive, not reliable, and too complex.
Agriculture is indeed a massive industry with huge complexity. Different crops and different tasks require different robotics solutions. However, developing those solutions one by one is not only engineeringly very challenging, but also not commercially viable. This is evidenced by the very slow adoption rate of agri-robots, although the market demand is very high. The industry needs something new. Taking a hardware and software combined approach, we developed a much more efficient solution, a single universal robot control unit, the URCU, and a modular robot platform to enable multiple agri-robot applications, such as scouting, weeding, harvesting, and more. The URCU is the brain of the robot, including both hardware and software, enabling advanced robot navigation, autonomous driving, and state-of-the-art computer vision. Compared with the existing market solutions, Antobot technology is at least 4 times more cost-effective, more integrated, and much more reliable. It not only enables us to develop these agri-robots in-house, but also as a technology platform, enable others to fast develop their own agricultural robotics applications, cut the go-to-market time, reduce the overall cost, turn the much-needed affordable robotics farming and automation into reality.
As you would expect, there is a substantial market opportunity for agri-robots, especially with multiple applications. We also predict that the market will continually rise due to factors such as population growth and increased demand for nutritious products. The UK will be our initial focus, and as funding permits and product roadmap develops, we will look to move to EU and rest of world markets. We also believe we have built a highly capable team with both technical depth and industrial experience in highly complex products. We also have a global presence with team members located both here in the UK and in China.
Everybody knows and everybody says hardware is hard, but we have done it. The team has achieved tremendous momentum. The core hardware URCU is released. Our scouting robot design is completed, and the team is on track to finish the build in this April. The computer vision and autonomous driving software is now functional well. 2 large commercial UK farms are engaged with us to conduct field trials from this May. We are now looking for 600,000 seed round investment to commercialize URCU and scouting robot in the next year. And that will put us on an excellent trajectory for an agricultural robotics technology ecosystem and an extended agri-robot family in a few years' time, achieves multiple million pounds annual revenue. Please feel free to get in touch with us if you would like to know more. We are now open for questions. Thanks.
Okay, Mark and Howard, thank you so much for the great presentation. Again, a very, very interesting sort of showcase of what can be done through using sort of AI and computer vision, etc. I guess my first question will be, it looks like you guys have got a great product and you've designed a great product. It'd be interesting to hear about traction. Have you guys managed to test this product? Have you been out onto the farm? That I think would be very, very interesting to the audience.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kieran. So I guess the customer and end user has been very important to us from the start. So we didn't just want to do tech for tech's sake. So from really early on in the business, we spoke to the growers, the farmers, really understood their pain points. And that's gone, a lot of that learning and deep knowledge of their issues has gone into the product, into our learning. So our first application is going to be ready very soon, which is our scouting robot. And from those relationships, 2 major UK horticultural farms have agreed to do field trials starting when the season starts in May. So we've got those 2 signed up, obviously very interested in the product. We're seeing strong demand. And also we're seeing demand from both China and the US. So we're seeing that early traction really coming through. And then obviously the field trials starting this season with the 2 major farms in the UK.
Brilliant. So you've got two sort of test cases coming up, sort of early May, where you'll be able to prove the product and sort of have some great use cases for investors and other corporate clients.
Exactly that. Yeah, that's the aim. So we've got it all on paper. We've got the as the presentation showed, we've got the hardware ready to go. We just got to put it all together now, get testing and show what we can do. And
it is, you mentioned hardware is hard. You've also got the software elements. On the hardware piece, I mean, how are you going about manufacturing that hardware, and how are you going to keep prices down, stay competitive, etc.?
This is a very good question. So for us, the affordability is always at our core. So we are quite lucky. We assembled a global team with our co-founders, Dr. Ke Lu and Professor Zhu in China, with their great collections in the automotive industry, particularly in the automotive electronics industry. We have built up that relationship with the supply chain to build both high quality and also very affordable hardware.
Very good. And in terms of, I mean, one of the things that as an investor we're always very keen to understand is the defensibility of the product. How are you going to stop copycats? How are you going to keep this so you can remain competitive?
Oh, that is a very good question. So what we do is we put patents and trademarks in place to protect ourselves. And also we have a very strict outsourcing contract in place to ensure our outsourcing factory are not able to copy our IPs.
And final question. So you have the hardware element, but then you are also creating the software element. You're not licensing it from somewhere else. You're creating both parts here. Is that correct?
That's correct. That also we consider as our unique selling point. So we have the in-house capability of software and hardware combined design. So that is why we are able to do such complicated things in an even more affordable cost. So yes, we do this all in-house.
Very good. No, I think at Plug and Play we definitely feel that, I mean, automation has the potential. There's the potential to definitely transform agriculture, and we actually released a report on this topic. So definitely, if you're interested in the topic, have a look, reach out and have a look at that report. But Mark and Howard, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Great video. Please, if people are interested in Antobot, please do get in touch with Mark and Howard via the event center. Again, we're really trying to drive engagement here through investors, corporates, and the startups presenting as part of this event. Howard, Mark, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
with that, we've got about 10 minutes remaining, so we've got time for our last startup. So we're going to go out with a bang, and let me please introduce to the stage Condense Reality.
Hi everyone, my name's Nick Fellingham. I'm the CEO and I'm one of the co-founders of Condense Reality. And we're a computer vision startup, and we aim to be the first company that can live stream broadcast quality content for mixed reality. So I want to start off with a quick explanation of what volumetric video is. Volumetric video is a kind of content that can be watched from any angle, and the viewer has control over what angle that is. So as you can see here, the viewer has control over the plinth, and they're able to manipulate the content and view it from different angles. So with volumetric video, you can create some really exciting experiences. This is a mock-up from BT Applied Research that showcases how they expect to use our technology. So as you can see, the viewers on the left have augmented reality headsets, and they're actually able to watch traditional 2D broadcast along with a volumetric broadcast, which has the whole scene in 3D condensed down onto their coffee table. Now, of course, you don't need an AR headset to watch these kind of experiences. You can also view them through smartphones or, in this case, an iPad. And what we see here is a performer being captured and then placed on the user's coffee table. We also think this tech is going to be really powerful for things like training. Anything where actually moving your camera angle and being able to watch from different angles is useful, we think volumetric video is going to be used. Now, of course, you don't need to just shrink or condense those videos down. You can also expand them out, and you can create these massive shared immersive experiences. So here you can see everybody in the stadium has a slightly different angle of the content, and they're all able to enjoy it together. So how do we create these experiences? Well, the first thing we do is we take a large number of cameras, which we position around a capture area, and then we combine the feeds from all of these cameras into a single 3D model, which we can then send over the internet. And our system is incredibly quick to set up. So here's an example. Obviously, this is a time lapse, but this is an example just showing how quickly we can set these this system up. Traditionally, these were really, really slow to set up, but now we can bring them to location and capture content. And so what actually comes out the back of this? Well, here's an example of our footage being viewed on an iPad. And as you can see, you're able to manipulate the content, so you can turn it from left to right, and then you can move all the way around it. So you can literally step around the content, And as I say, we can live stream this content. So this is happening in real time. You could have the performer be asked questions, and you can drastically change what's in the capture area. So here I took off my jumper, and we're able to handle that easily. So obviously the content in that last video wasn't perfect. And this is why we've built a KPI based on structural similarity that allows us to compare our video to a traditional 2D video. And then we get this score of how close we are to the real world content. So at the moment we're at 44 out of 100. And we're pushing for a broadcast quality score of 80. And we review this weekly so we can see a steady rise in the quality of our content. Now, of course, solutions like this do exist already. And as I mentioned previously, they suffer from a number of problems. The first is that they're fixed in place. So which means you have to take your actors to the studio rather than bring your studio to your actors. And it also, they're very expensive. So £20,000 for 3 minutes of footage isn't unheard of. And they take a long time to output that footage. So sometimes up to 2 weeks to get the footage out. Our system's portable, it's modular, so it can be set up quickly and be expanded using third-party hardware for different needs, and it outputs footage in real time. And so the way our tech works is we have a capture system which captures the content. We have a distribution system where we're able to stream this over the internet. And then we have playback, which sits inside game engines and supports mobile AR, VR, and AR. For such a young company, we've had some really great traction. So we had a £350,000 seed round in September, and that was coupled with £600,000 worth of UK government grants. And since then, we've agreed to be filming a live boxing match with BT Research. And we're also doing remote dance lessons as part of that same project funded by the DCMS. And we're also negotiating a number of different setups, one with a mocap studio near Bristol. And so just to finish, our business model, we're a SaaS software company. We charge a yearly license for our software. We charge streaming costs per minute streamed to end users, which is great because it means that as our customers' viewer base grows, so does our revenues. And we also charge a hardware integration and markup on any hardware we sell. So we're a great team of entrepreneurs and academics. Myself, Dan, and Andy actually worked together on a previous startup, Second Sync, which was sold to Twitter. And we, Dan from there managed the team which actually brought live video to Twitter. And Ollie and Andy are from the University of Bristol. Ollie is our computer vision expert, and we also have advice from Andrew Coway. So I'll stop there. Any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay, Nick, thank you so much for that presentation.
No problem.
Incredibly interesting. I was getting used to the virtual version of you.
It's easy to do. It's easy to forget that you're watching through a phone screen and that some miniature version of me isn't actually stood on the floor in front of you.
I think we discussed it before the call, that you could start turning up to meetings with this virtual version.
Yeah, very soon.
So there's obviously loads of different sort of use cases for augmented reality. It's sort of, you touched on the entertainment piece there. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are the applications that you feel that will be most powerful? Not just for you as a business, but for the industry going forward?
So I think it's going to follow an interesting pattern where augmented reality has some incredible uses that are actually quite simple, that will drive through loads of business innovation, things like labeling car parts, labeling machinery, giving you guides through factories. But I think as people become more and more relaxed in using this technology, that's when the entertainment sector will really step in. And we're actually building for that point. So we're working towards a point where it's just, people wouldn't want to watch entertainment and sports events in any other way. They may as well watch it through augmented reality because that's the most enjoyable way to do it. But I think it will first start in industry and then it will move towards entertainment over time.
Where are you targeting as part of Condensed Reality? Are you targeting this entertainment section, or are you going into healthcare or automotive?
Yeah, so we're targeting live events, and so for us, and live events covers an enormous amount of different areas. We're looking at sports events, we're looking at live concerts, VR conferences, AR conferences. At the moment, we don't want it to be a Zoom call replacement. But I definitely think for giving keynote pitches, for giving speeches, it's a really engaging way to do it. I think you'll start seeing it more and more that CEOs will start giving presentations volumetrically because it excites the audience more than a standard video.
And in terms of the business plan, is it very much B2B2C? So you're going through other producers of entertainment?
Exactly, yeah. We want to be the technology provider. I often use the comparison of Clubhouse don't do their own audio API. They have a technology provider that provides that sort of technology backbone that allows them to distribute audio at scale. We want to be that for volumetric video. And we actually have two versions of our product. At the moment, we have a studio version, which is for broadcasters, for VR studios. And then we're also working on a much larger scale version for broadcasters simultaneously. So we have these sort of two markets which we're targeting.
Really good. I can see Darren pacing around in the background there, so I think we're pretty much up on time.
No problem.
Nick, thanks so much. Really, really interesting video. Again, those watching, please do reach out to Nick and Condense Reality via the event center. With that, we're coming to the end of our pitch. Thanks again, Nick. We've seen
Thank you, Kieran.
Four incredible companies: Circuit Builder, Miniature, Antobot, Condense Reality, covering sort of a whole range of different industries there. So hopefully everyone on the line enjoyed that. Please do reach out to the startups if you're interested. And with that, I will close the session. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.